What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, we're looking at the end of season player awards. I put out a tweet last week asking for different categories and nominations. So I've gone through that, and obviously I've put my kind of opinion to it, and I'll go through the players that I have selected. So that's going to be the penultimate video that's looking back on last season, right? So the 2021-22 season. Hopefully this weekend there'll be a video out with the world number one, Jamie. So if you've got any questions for him, leave a comment below, and I'll pick the best ones to put to him when I chat to him later this week. Once that is done, that will be it for content on last season. We'll then start looking ahead to next season. There won't be a huge amount of content before the game is out, but we will look at the fixtures, price predictions and stuff like that. And obviously once the game is out, there'll be so much content, you'll have plenty to watch as well. So that's the plan. If you do enjoy this video, the end of season awards, give it a like, hit that subscribe button. I will put in a pinned comment the categories that I went for, so you can come up with your own players there and show me what you would have done differently, right? It's all about opinions this game, so let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, let's jump into it. Okay, so first up, we've gone with most valuable player, and I have picked Joel Matip. There are some other players that could definitely be up for this award. I think Jarrod Bowen is one that definitely sticks out. Obviously, he hit 200 points as a very cheap midfielder, but I think getting a Liverpool defender who ended the season on at 5.3 million, which is pretty cheap, 5.5 points per match is incredible for that value, and he got 170 points. It's very close to that 200 mark. Bearing in mind, not many of the defenders in the history of FPL have hit that many points. Sorry, 17 clean sheets, 3 goals, 3 assists. He was incredible. I don't think we should beat ourselves up for those of us that didn't go with him. Lots of times during the season, Trent, Robbo and Salah, or maybe Trent, Jota and Salah, or whatever combination of 3 players it was very, very viable. And obviously you're always going to try and go for the most attacking. So if you can afford it, Robertson and Trent are definitely the ones to go for. But for those that went for Matip, they got an extremely valuable player. And I think one thing that FPL managers, and I definitely include myself in this, not struggle to pick up on, but maybe give it too much time, is that kind of bias towards previous injury records. And when a player who we think is injury prone, like Matip, continues to get a run of games, we're always worried that that injury is going to come. And to be honest, sometimes it does happen. Look at Kieran Tierney, for example. I went for him over Gabriel, then I had to use a transfer on him because he went and got injured. But with Matip, similar to kind of Danny Ings a few seasons ago, they managed him really well, and he was just able to play 90 minutes quite often. He did not miss that many games once he kind of had that run in the team. So again, we shouldn't beat ourselves up about it, but he was extremely valuable. Liverpool defender, 170 points, only 5.3 million. Incredible. Alright, so this one I called short-term hero. So this is someone that did incredibly well for us, but for only a very short period of time, right? So again, some players that could have been up for this award, like Antonio and Ben Rama, who were incredible at the start of the season. But I've gone for Tsimikas. Again, it's a Liverpool player. It's not often you get a player that's kind of almost guaranteed to start the season, because obviously Robertson was out, for just 4 million. They messed up the pricing of Kostas Tsimikas for sure. And let's not forget, he got 6 points in Game Week 1. Nice little clean sheet. Game Week 2, when Robertson was still out, he got 11 points. And if you remember, towards the start of the season, yes, he was still in our teams, but Robertson was back from Game Week 3. But there was that match in Game Week 5 where everybody thought that Robertson was going to start. And we got that early news on the stream that Tsimikas was going to start. And what did he do? Another 5 points. So when we actually played him in our teams, his points per match were incredible. Not only that, it was for obviously a really, really good Liverpool team, and he was so cheap that yes, okay, it didn't mean, or at that time it meant that we couldn't also get a third Liverpool player in. But once we wildcarded and stuff, that didn't matter. So for 4 million, a playing defender who then enables you to kind of build out the rest of your squad was really good at the start of the season. And obviously when he came down to 3.7 million, he was also a great enabler on free hits. So I'm giving the short-term hero award to Kostas Tsimikas. Okay, so the most overhyped Game Week 1 player. So this is someone that maybe content creators or the community were talking about, was very highly owned, and pretty much went on to do absolutely nothing for the whole season. And that is Luke Shaw. Now, I checked on Live FPL. His ownership in the top 10k after Game Week 1 was 86.73%. Now, part of the reason for that is because a lot of those people that had him just did really well, right? That's how they got into the top 10k in the opening week. But that is an incredibly high ownership. And I seem to to remember his overall ownership when we started the game was about 50-odd%, which is a bit crazy when you look how bad he did. He dropped 0.5 million from his starting price, only 3 assists and 3 clean sheets all season. Bearing in mind, we just looked at Matip, who got 17 clean sheets this season, and the expected goals conceded for Man United was 1.34. There was a big drop-off this year. That is really poor. If you look at City, it'd be around 0.7, 0.8. The likes of Chelsea and Liverpool will be much closer to 1. 1.34 is really bad, and Ten Hag has a lot to do next season. Again, I would never write players off from any team. I certainly wouldn't write Man United players off. Their prices will definitely come down because of what happened last year, you would assume, and so therefore they could be good value, but something big has to happen in defenders for us to look at Luke Shaw from game week 1. Either his price has to be super cheap and Man United's fixtures have to be great, or they have to price the likes of Trent, James, Chilwell, Cancelo, etc. so high it's hard to get them all in. But yeah, Luke Shaw, definitely the most overhyped in game week 1. Okay, let's go through some of the worst bandwagons this season. There is probably a lot more on this, so do let me know in the comments below. I think one of them was 3 premiums. I never got kind of suckered into this, but there was this big talk within the community that Lukaku, Ronaldo and Salah, we were going to have all of them, and that was kind of the way forward, and that really didn't last too many game weeks. I think maybe 1, 2, 3 game weeks until people started jumping off, because when you've got players that highly priced, they have to keep hitting kind of 8 to 10 points most weeks. And that's unlikely to happen with a kind of forward in the way that the points are done in FPL. Obviously, Salah is great. Ronaldo had his moments as well. Lukaku maybe less so. But that bandwagon did not last very long. And I'm very glad that I got sucked into a lot of bandwagons. That was not one of them. So I was glad about that. Wout Weghorst was obviously pretty awful. I think there was one double game week where he did really well, but he did really poor in the one that involved Man City. Barely got any returns after that. 20 appearances and only 2 goals, 3 assists. I think, to be fair, right, forwards didn't do great in that time period anyway, so it's not like we massively missed out. He also wasn't like 8 or 9, 10 million. It's not like his price was super high, so I don't think we should I don't know, like tell ourselves it was a really bad decision, but ultimately it was a big bandwagon and it did not go well, so he had to be on there. And I think Watford forwards, obviously Dennis did really well for a really kind of not even a short period of time. It was like 8 to 9, maybe even 10 game weeks where we got plenty of goals, plenty of assists, but after that we all jumped on them. Some of us had King, some of us had Dennis, and obviously they had the double game weeks as well, and they just did absolutely nothing for ages, but we just couldn't get rid of them. So they're the 3 bandwagons I'm definitely nominating for the worst ones of the season. There's going to be plenty more, so let me know below. So I've put the best enabler as Livramento, right? It could have been Simicast, but I think he didn't play enough games when we kind of needed him. Whereas Livramento, before he kind of went and got injured and obviously was kind of out of the team for a little bit, did really well. He was also extremely frustrating for those of us that didn't play him over that game week 4 to 11 period, where he averaged 5.6 points. So some of you will have kind of played him because you thought he just looks really good. Some of you would have got lucky and got him off the bench. I think without going back and double checking every week, I'm pretty sure I almost never got any points from Livramento. So he was a great enabler. I think any season where you get a £4 million playing player is always going to be really beneficial to FPL teams, right? Because it doesn't mean you have to play them. It's about the budget it lets you spend elsewhere. But in particular with Livramento, he also got points, at least in that kind of period of time between game week 4 and 11. I think there wasn't really any other options apart from Ben Foster. I think having a £4 million keeper for playing for most of the season, yes, okay, there wasn't a huge amount of clean sheets and stuff like that, but again, it's all about that money that can be spent elsewhere and having that reliability that someone off your bench is at least going to play. So I've put Livramento as the best enabler. It could have definitely been Ben Foster as well. Okay, so I've gone for the most unlucky week, and I think it has to be game week 9 for those people that went for Kai Havertz captain over Mo Salah. Now, some people probably got Havertz in but didn't captain him and they went with Salah, in which case fair play, but I do not think that this was necessarily a bad decision at all. He was playing against Norwich. He looked like he was first choice at that time. He was playing well. To be fair, I looked at his stats for the game. They weren't exactly out of this world. I think it was like 0.3 expected goals for that game and kind of nothing for assists. So it's not like he necessarily contributed that well in that game, but to go for the best fixture of the season, Norwich at home, for your team to score 7 goals and for you to come away with nothing, that is, in my opinion, the definition of bad luck in FPL. So I really did feel for people that went for Havertz at the time. And obviously, not only did that happen, but Salah went and got 4 returns against Man United. And look, plenty of people at the time were saying Salah is easily the best captain. I don't think I was one of them. I think I probably said that I would have gone for Havertz if I owned him, but I didn't, so I went for Salah. Plenty of people, though, did say it was a great fixture. Man United weren't playing well. I'm still not sure most of those people saw him getting 4 returns. So that's just what happens in FPL again. Captaining Havertz wasn't a bad decision. Captaining Salah was definitely not a bad decision. But for the swing to be that big, I felt like that was one of the most unlucky game weeks. There's going to be others because of the double game weeks, and it's going to feel like the swings were big. But that one in particular definitely stuck out in my mind. I think the biggest flop of the season has to be Lukaku. If you think back to how people were talking about him when he first came back into the Premier League, right? That game against Arsenal, he bullied the defence and did really well. People started talking as if he was going to go and score kind of like 25 plus goals for the season. And look, I thought he was a pretty good purchase, especially around game week 7 when Chelsea's fixtures turned. But I'm not sure I was as convinced as a lot of other people. So again, I've definitely made some bad decisions this season. I think bigging up Lukaku probably wasn't one of them. 16 starts all season for someone that cost him like 100 million quid. That is crazy, right? He was seen as the guy that's going to come in, get the goals, not necessarily revolutionise Chelsea, but give them kind of that target man, that man that's going to be in the box, do what he did at Inter Milan, essentially. And I do think possibly the fact that the likes of Chilwell got injured, Reece James wasn't fit for a lot of the season as well, that probably didn't help. I think those two bombing forward, putting crosses in for Lukaku being able to hold the ball up and pass it to whoever on the wings as well, that could have all worked nicely, but obviously it didn't happen because of the injuries. But ultimately, 16 starts, only 8 goals, 1 assist, coming at 11.5 million. Again, players like Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo didn't do great either, but they got plenty more returns than Lukaku did. They played most of the season. They were very useful to us in some of the double game weeks as well. You remember Ronaldo in game week 33, Bruno and Ronaldo in game week 25. There just doesn't really feel like too many moments of like that for Lukaku at all. The 2 goals at the end of the season, I think it was against Watford maybe, but hardly anyone owned him. So for me, biggest flop of the season has to be Lukaku. Okay, so biggest surprise of the year has to be Jarrod Bowen. I don't think anyone expected him to get the amount of points he did. Obviously, Saka did really well. Maddison did really well. I don't think they were kind of as unexpected as it was for Jarrod Bowen. The whole season where he was nailed on, played pretty much every game. There wasn't too many games that he was injured for. 5.7 points per match. To do that from his starting price was pretty incredible. And he only actually ended up at 6.9 million. This is definitely someone that's getting a price hike next year. Could be 8.5 million, something like that. But to cross the 200 point barrier look, I don't think people wrote West Ham off or anything like that. I'm not sure they expected them to have quite the season they did. And for part of that reason to be Jarrod Bowen, I just didn't see too many people predicting that. I certainly didn't, right? So to get that 206 points, 12 goals, 17 assists, 29 attacking returns is absolutely incredible. And like I said, he did start the majority of games as well with 34. And I'm sure he's going to go and do it again next year. We'll have to see how David Moyes treats Europe again next year. Obviously, it's not going to be the Europa League. So will he kind of start his first choice as often? I think he probably will, because getting that European trophy for West Ham would be big. But we'll have to wait and see. Either way, Jarrod Bowen's kind of got the fitness levels to just play a lot anyway, unlike maybe someone like Antonio. So yeah, can he repeat 200 points? I would find that not difficult to believe, but it's just a difficult thing to do, right? To start that many games and to contribute at 5.7 points per match for that long is difficult. But if he plays as well as he did this year, it could definitely happen. Okay, so I've gone for some of my favourite moments. So these are a bit more personal, right? Obviously, Jarrod Bowen being a surprise, I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think short-term hero Kostas Tsimikas, you can definitely make a case for that. These are specifically about my favourite moments. So if you didn't free hit in game week 37, you probably didn't hit anywhere close to 115 points. That was a huge kind of point in my season, because in game week 36 it did not go well. I dropped from 15k to 32k, and then that 115 points in game week 37 got me right back up, and that's what helped me get that top 10k finish at the end of the season. To have Richarlison captain as a bit of a differential, Jamie Vardy on 15 points, Maddison on 25 points, it just all worked really well. Went for Kane over De Bruyne, he scored, De Bruyne blanked, like it just all went nicely. So that was definitely one of my favourite moments. I've got to put a couple of Man United players in there, because I think a lot of people see me as this big biased Man United fan and that I can't differentiate between FPL and Man United players. And sometimes I do pick Man United players because I just want them in my team. But I always say when I do that, if I think they're just a genuinely good option, then I'm not going to say, well, I could be a bit biased here. So when Fernandes got his haul in game week 25, I loved that for a couple of reasons. One, I had him and Ronaldo and Fernandes captain, and he ended up outscoring Ronaldo, which was really nice because a lot of people just had Ronaldo. It also came right at the end of the second game. If you remember, I think it was the Southampton game was the first one of the double, and then it was Brighton in the second game. I think those were the two teams. And after Southampton, everyone was saying, load of rubbish, they're not going to get us any points, can't wait to sell them. And then they go and get the points against Brighton, and it's suddenly, well, maybe actually they were all right in the end. So that was a nice point. I also loved the Ronaldo haul in game week 33 because I didn't own him, but I got a lot of stick on that free hit video for putting Man United players in my free hit. And people that put Ronaldo in, especially those that captained him, absolutely smashed it. And he might have got a little bit lucky, but sometimes you've got to put players in with good fixtures, right? And they were playing against Norwich. I know they had Liverpool after that, but honestly, out of all the videos, that one just sticks out in my mind, where I got so many comments about being a delusional Man United fan, a biased Man United fan, Man United are rubbish, it doesn't matter that it's Norwich. And so that haul was really nice, even though I didn't own him in FPL. I got to be honest, I really enjoyed the Coutinho blanks after game week 28 because he got a massive score in game week 28. I captained Rafinha. That looked like such a stupid move at the time. And then Coutinho, apart from the goal against Man City, blanked every single week after that. And people were talking about like he was this really great player. The decision in game week 28 was brilliant. And look, it was. He had two good fixtures. But I think the build-up he had after that about how good of an asset he was kind of overhyped, to be honest. And so I did enjoy the fact that he kept on blanking every single week after that. And Rafinha blanked too, but he also got some returns. So that was nice for me. And the Mbeumo penalty versus Watford in game week 9, because I got a lot of stick about keeping him. And again, perhaps that was a bad decision. But when he comes up to take a penalty because Tony's not on the pitch, that was just love it. Absolutely love that moment. I forgot to do the kiss part of that, but I'm going to leave it as it is. So there's some of my favourite moments. Let me know yours below. So he may have provided one of the best moments of my season, but I had to put Bruno Fernandes down as the biggest drop-off of the season. Now, I didn't want to put him in as flop of the year for all the reasons I spoke about of Lukaku. Lukaku only got 9 attacking returns. Bruno Fernandes still got 17. He also provided some pretty good moments. For those of you that captained him in the double game week 25, I think there was the double game week in 22 as well when he got that goal against Villa that Martinez probably should have saved, if I'm remembering correctly. So he did provide some good moments. The problem was his price was just so high, 12 million. And if you're wondering what Heung-min Son might be next year, factor in that Bruno Fernandes got 244 points and they pushed his price right up to 12 million straight away. Son has just got over 250 points. I'd be very surprised if he's not 12 million next year, unless they are going to do something with positions, unless they're going to do something with overall prices. Son could be 12 million next year based on what happened with Bruno Fernandes last year. Next year, he's got to be cheaper. I think I could see like a 10 million valuation. Only got 151 points. I've already spoken about a lot of cheaper midfielders that did better. Madison, Saka, Bowen, all absolutely smashed Fernandes. I don't think because he has got one of those 200 plus point seasons already in the locker, nearly 250, that they're going to suddenly put him down to like 7 or 8 million, which I'm sure people will think he should be. But 9 to 10 million could be his price. One of the reasons for the drop-off, because he still got 17 returns, was losing penalties. Obviously, that was a big thing. He did take a few, and obviously had that miss against Martinez, which was not great at all. But Ronaldo did take quite a few of the penalties. And obviously, Man United, I think, just got fewer penalties as well. So all that factored into that big drop-off. So I couldn't put him as flop of the year because I think Lukaku was a bigger flop, but I couldn't not mention him because he did have that massive, massive drop-off. And I don't think there was a player that was either that expensive or had that much hype that kind of delivered so little. Maybe Luke Shaw, to be fair, given how we were talking about him for game week 1. But I've gone for Bruno Fernandes. Do I think he'll be an option next year? Again, I would not write him off. Let's see how Ten Hag sets him up. Let's see if he gets penalties back, if Ronaldo doesn't play quite as much. And ultimately, let's see what his price is, because price will dictate how valuable a player is. And if Fernandes is priced at 12 million next year, will I go for him? Absolutely not. If he's 9 million, 9.5, 10, there's a conversation to be had based on what everyone else will be priced at. So there we go. That is the end of season player awards for 2021-22. Let me know below who you would go with differently, because I'm sure there's a lot of opinions about what I've spoken about. Hopefully I'll be back this weekend with an interview with the world number one, Jamie, the champion of 21-22. Let me know if you've got any questions below for him as well. Otherwise, I'll catch you again soon.